Hi, my name is Nate Gilbert. I'm an attorney in San Antonio, Texas. And about 9 out of every 10 calls that I get about an LLC, the person wants to ask if they can use the LLC to avoid taxes. This is not a straightforward answer, and anyone who is giving you the advice that you should form an LLC to avoid taxes is giving you bad advice. An LLC is not a tax avoidance vehicle that we use to, basically make up what we want to do and figure out how to avoid as many taxes as possible. The IRS is hip to this game. Okay, the Instagram influencer that's telling you that they form an LLC and hire their kids who are 7 and 8 years old and pay them salaries and distributions and therefore avoid taxes for their house, they're lying to you. They might experience some tax breaks in the beginning, but the IRS is not going to fall for this every single time. If you are paying someone a wage out of your LLC because you've made an S-corp election, you need to justify why that person's getting paid, and it needs to fall in line with child labor laws. So if you are paying your child that's 7 years old out of your LLC, well, you need to figure out how you're justifying what that wage is and if it's in compliance with any labor laws in the state. Even in smaller corporations, we get asked about tax avoidance or leaving money in the LLC. That's my favorite one that I hear. If you are an LLC, the default tax classification is a pass-through entity. That means if the LLC makes money, it doesn't matter if it's in a bank account labeled the LLC and it's not your personal bank account. That's as good as you having earned that money. Okay, so that's going to be profit or loss from a business, and you report that on your 1040 after having published the LLC income on the Schedule C. So that attaches right on. Now, you can use the LLC to lessen that number. Okay, we can use write-offs within the LLC for normal business expenses. So things like insurance for your company or professional licenses you have to maintain, continuing education, office supplies, whatever it takes to get that number down, that's something that your CPA or accountant can help you with. But if you want to leave money in the LLC and not be taxed on it individually, you have to make what's called an S-corp election. That S-corp election tells the IRS that you want this LLC to be taxed as a corporation. Okay, so it has to file its own return. It has to pay through payroll. Okay, so you can't just take money out of it whenever you want. It's got to come through payroll or distributions. You have to take care of withholding tax, any self-employment tax that goes with that, or you have Medicare, that kind of thing. All that's going to be taken out and taken into account when you are making that S-corp election. Now, there are ways to save money when you're making an S-corp election, but that's not going to fit every single business model. You will do things like salaries and distributions. Distributions are taxed differently than salaries, but the S-corp election is going to increase the complication of your business significantly. Okay, so you're going to have separate returns, you're going to have documentation required, you're going to be running through payroll, withholding taxes. That's all going to cost money and time for either you to do it or your CPA or your accounting firm to do it. Whatever it is, that's going to take time and money away from running your business. So a lot of times my recommendation is for folks, look, start out with the pass-through taxation. Later on, if you want to make the S-corp election, you can do that when it makes financial sense, and it might very quickly, but reducing complication when you're starting a business is going to be the #1 thing. So using an LLC to avoid taxes, there are things that can be done, but don't expect some giant miracle of, all of a sudden you're going to pay no taxes next year because you started an LLC and you were able to take out certain loans or do whatever you wanted to do with this LLC, and now all of a sudden you're impervious to taxes or you don't have to pay taxes because you have an LLC. It's simply not true, and there's a lot of misinformation out there about how to avoid taxes with an LLC. Before you make any moves in that direction, speak with an attorney, speak with your CPA, figure out the best strategy to lighten the load on the taxes for sure, but avoid them altogether you're not going to be able to do. So have any questions, reach out to your attorney, reach out to your CPA, and figure out the best way forward for you and your company.